YouTube squad, what's going on, my fellow spiritual aspirants, retainers, wisdom seekers, truth seekers, all you guys. So first of all, before I get into the topic, just want to say I'm really grateful for all the support I'm getting here on this channel, all the new followers. You guys giving me a lot of hope. I'm not talking about stuff that's popular, but it's resonating. And apparently there are a lot more people out there who are very serious about becoming the best versions of themselves, putting down bad habits and living a God-centered life, leaving the crooked ways of the matrix, getting on that more straight and narrow path, and finding out what we're really capable of here, getting in touch with our purpose, our true purpose as human beings on this planet. You know, it's a miracle that we got here, that we made it this far. The fact that we have this platform, this technology, that we can reach each other and find each other because we're scattered all over the world, those of us that are really paying attention and care. So I'm very grateful to have connected with you guys, and I'm grateful that the message is resonating. So before I ramble on too long, let's get into the topic. This one's about fasting. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of fasting, different types of fasting, and some tips, things to expect and things to look out for when you go on a fast of any kind. So I'm going to get more in depth on this subject in the future. About to get myself a big whiteboard so I can have some notes in the background and kind of organize things a little more. But for now we'll just flow with it. So obviously this is a semen retention focused channel, which is really like a men's health, a men's self-improvement practice. It is also a fasting practice. So fasting simply being anytime we abstain from something that we're very accustomed to doing on a regular basis, okay, that's a fast. And there's therefore, innumerable types of fasting. So going on semen retention is a form of fasting. And so fasting in its various forms is going to have one thing in common. There's going to be a lot of different benefits to different types of fasts. I can get into that in a little bit more detail. But let's just say that the common denominator, the thing that's true about any fast, is that it's going to increase your ability to control yourself, to regulate yourself. It's going to increase your spiritual strength, simply put. It's going to put you more in touch with your own spiritual nature and with the spiritual nature of reality at large. Because anytime that we are abstaining from some habit, some condition, some behavior, we are now leaving the realm of the body and everything that it craves and wants. And we are now exchanging that for a more spiritual awareness. So there's all sorts of studies done on fasting, on the physiological effects of fasting from food. For example, that would be the most common sort of fast, is fasting from food, going on a water fast. People take that to another level, do a dry fast, and go off of water even for lengths of time. Of course, there are limits to these things. A water fast can go on for a very long time. I know people that have gone months doing that. Dry fasting, I've heard of people going upwards of a week. I've never met anybody in person that's done that. But I do know people that regularly will go on like 24-hour dry fasts, things like that. So there's a lot of science behind this, and it's really getting interesting these days because there's also a lot of propaganda funded by pharmaceutical companies, mostly, against fasting, despite the growing body of evidence that suggests it's virtually limitless as to what it can cure or heal in the body, the mind and the soul too. So I've heard medical doctors, several of them, say that we're having trouble identifying anything that fasting doesn't help with. So it's virtually limitless what it helps with. And it's kind of amazing to me too, because this is ancient. This goes all the way back. If you look at the scripture, we know Jesus was all about fasting. Fasting was discussed a lot in the scripture, in both testaments. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. And then what happened there was, well, the devil came to him and offered him the entire world. So that suggests to me that fasting at length like that increases your spiritual potency, your spiritual power to such an extent that the dark forces become incredibly threatened by you, to the point that they're willing to offer you anything they have in exchange for you to just stop doing what you're doing, right? And this is why fasting is difficult. It's a difficult thing. So fasting from food, you guys, we're already fasting from sexual activity, at least I think you probably are if you're on this channel. So that in and of itself, right, we're cultivating life force energy. There's a physiological aspect to this that's helping us become more masculine and giving us more energy for healing and thinking and acting and so forth. There's also the spiritual component where we're cultivating self-control. We're also getting off the dopamine hamster wheel. So there's the mental component where we're healing our brain. We're becoming more balanced. We get out of depression, anxiety, all of these things that we've been plagued with because of this willy-nilly use of our sexual energy. So to take these things to another level, we can start fasting from food. We can go lengths of time without food. This is incredibly potent. There's tons of science behind this. So what happens generally is the body goes into like a hyper healing state. And because you're not wasting energy digesting food, something like 50% of the calories you consume, by the way, depending on what you're consuming, go into the actual digestion process. It was hard to say, of the food going from your mouth to your anus. You know, that takes energy out of the foods you eat. So this whole concept of calories is very riddled with myths and nonsense. But to put it simply, when we abstain from food, we're going to find ourselves having more clarity of thought because we're not using energy to digest. Also, the energy in the food, we can think of energy also as information. So food is information, nutrition is information. Everything in the food tells your cells what to do, basically. It's information that we're consuming when we eat food. You know, when we consume, we're in the sunlight too, also, and breathing in air and around the energy of plants. We're also receiving information that way. We're consuming information all the time, whether we know it or not. So some of the foods we eat, or a lot of the foods we eat, especially in America, are riddled with toxins. And also the most common things to eat tend to be things that are going to spike your blood sugar and get you on this roller coaster, and it affects your brain chemistry. So a lot of these foods are like drugs, and they're laced with toxins that have a really negative impact on the body. And a lot of people are eating so unconsciously and so often that they really have no idea how many symptoms they're actually living with daily just from the food they're eating. And the only way to really find out what the food you're eating is doing is to stop eating food for a while. So some tips about fasting from food in particular, going on a water fast, which is something I highly suggest. You could do intermittent fasting, which is amazing. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is to do like an 8-hour window of eating and a 16-hour window of not eating. And you can do that daily. Or you could go like on a weekly 24-hour water fast. Or maybe you do a monthly 3-day water fast. Or maybe once a year you go a whole week. You know, there are levels to this. But we have to proceed with caution. It's different for men and women because our biochemistry and our hormones are different and we require different things. Fasting is in general safer for men because we are not on this monthly cycle. We don't have to be aware of this. Men are on a 24-hour cycle. So we can really fast any time of the month or the year. It doesn't really matter. Women have to be a little bit more in tune with their menstrual cycle. If they're going to go on a fast, they don't want to do it while they're menstruating. So if you're going to do a water fast, here are some suggestions, okay? Don't go straight from eating pizza and cereal. And we shouldn't be eating that stuff anyways, you guys. But let's say you are, okay? No shame. But if you're living on a diet of processed foods, a very high carbohydrate diet, and you go straight into a water fast, you are going to experience some crazy mood swings. You'll get headaches. You're going to get withdrawal symptoms, basically, just like a drug addict would when they stop doing drugs suddenly. So before you go onto a water fast, you want to basically prepare your body for that by going more into like a ketogenic sort of diet. So we want to start eliminating carbohydrates for a period of time before we go on the water fast. That way it's going to be a lot easier to stay on it. The hunger pains are going to be a lot easier to deal with. The hunger pains, by the way, are good. That's a good thing, because that's where we're going to cultivate spiritual strength, is by being able to experience the body's craving for something and deny it for a period of time. Now, of course, there are limits to this. Do not go lifting heavy in the gym and then fast. I'm going to say that's a really bad idea. We got to listen to our bodies. So say if you've been doing heavy deadlifts and your body's craving protein, give it protein, okay? So when we're fasting, the other thing is we want to start working in instead of working out. So we do need to move. We need to move our bodies, but move them in ways that aren't exerting that much energy. Light movements, easy movements, go on walks, do some like light stretching, anything that's going to leave you with more energy than it left you with. Stuff that's easy, basically, but keeps you moving, all right? So enter into the fast, ease your way into it by getting a little bit more on the ketogenic side of things, which means like no carbs for a little while. Then water fast for 24 to 36, 48, even 72 hours. This is a great place to start. If you can make it 24 hours, that's amazing. That's a great place to start. What's going to happen on a physiological level is your body's going to start producing more stem cells. It's going to start going into autophagy. It's hard to say, but that's basically where these dead cells in your body are going to start to eliminate themselves. You know, we have waste in our body, and also waste from toxins, from foods. All of these things are going to start to leave our body, and we're going to feel really good on the other end. So we want to ease our way into a fast. We also want to ease our way out of a fast, equally as important. So if you fasted for 24, 36 hours on water, don't go straight to some heavy food like pizza or pasta or a burger or something like that. Don't just jump right into something like that. A great way to break a fast, you guys, is with bone broth. That'd be my number one suggestion, because it's not going to spike your blood sugar. It's got bioavailable protein and collagen and salts and minerals and all sorts of things that your body's going to readily utilize without spiking your blood sugar and shocking the system. So maybe start with some bone broth, and then maybe ease your way into some fruit. You know, you could start with fruit too, but to a limit. Don't have a bunch of fruit, because then you're going to have this big blood sugar spike and you're going to feel tired. So you want to ease your way back into eating. Bone broth and fruit are the two number one suggestions to ease your way back in. And then when your body started to acclimate to having nutrition in it again, now you can work your way back into heavier foods. Maybe have a steak or have some eggs or some chicken or something. Whole foods, you guys. I'm never going to suggest anybody eat anything other than whole foods. This is God's food, all right? If it didn't exist 1,000 years ago, you shouldn't be eating it. You know, that's a good rule of thumb right there. So, all right, you guys, some tips on fasting. Of course, there are so many kinds of fasts, and I'm going to get into more detail in future videos about this. If you guys are enjoying the content, like, subscribe, comment, share, and let me know if there's anything you want me to speak on. I've got a lot of information when it comes to holistic health, and if you guys have any questions, I'm all ears. All right, so peace.